I don't usually do two Leopards Are Feasting posts in a day, but there has been so much movement, so many faces eaten. I needed to report on this. So this is from PBS NewsHour. It says Hispanic advocacy groups and others expressed confusion at the abrupt change and frustration at what some called the administration's lack of efforts to maintain communication with the Latino community, which helped propel him to the presidency. They are confused. Latino MAGA are confused. And I'm confused about their confusion because he's been the same person since he came down that gold escalator a while back. So why are they confused? Face, meet leopard. Now this one is extremely confusing. This is gay MAGA. This is gay MAGA. Like, what exactly were they thinking? This person titled it is almost as if they should have seen it coming. So I'm going to show you a couple of different screenshots. So you see the pride flag with Trump Pride Save America, LGBTQ for Trump, WTF, whatever. This says gays for Trump. And look at this American flag. It has an American flag and an LGBTQ flag on the side. And this one, make America gay again. Make America gay again. Come on now, please, please make it stop because that literally makes no sense. When has America ever been friendly for gay people? And I'm a straight and I just can't understand why these people are going hard for Trump. Look at this. President Donald Trump has signed into law a ban on the use of the LGBTQI flag in federal buildings and U.S. embassies. Y'all, to the gays, are you okay? Gay MAGA, like what were you thinking, Huns? Because I am confusion. Nebraska, which went for Trump, has a labor force that might be under the threat of mass deportation. So, this is an article that says immigrants drive Nebraska's economy. Trump's mass deportation pledge is a threat. Ever so often, Al Junke, executive director of Nebraska's Pork Producers Association, says he'll get a phone call from one of his farmers about how to solve Nebraska's severe labor shortage. It goes something like this: Al, I got a great idea. Why don't we invite any immigrants? Legal, illegal, I don't care. Invite them to come to Nebraska because we have lots of openings out on our farm and we need help. Junke smiles wearily as he tells the story. Nebraska is one of the top meat producers in the United States. It also has one of the worst labor shortages in the country. For every 100 jobs, there are only 39 workers, according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Last January, the state's economic chamber released a report saying Nebraska had no choice but to welcome immigrants to address the workforce gap. Nebraska might need immigrants, but it also voted overwhelmingly for President Trump, who has threatened to carry out mass deportations of people living in the United States illegally. Junke says attracting workers to Nebraska is not about wages. The average pay for a meat trimmer is close to $18 an hour, well above the state minimum of $13.50. These are good paying jobs in the plants. People say, well, just double or triple the pay and you'll get United States citizens to work. No, you won't. In the past few years, Junke and several dozen other Nebraska advocacy and business groups formed an alliance to demand reform of federal immigration laws and state policy. Among their requests, expand worker visa programs and a pathway to residency for immigrants already living in the United States. Junke says he has been around long enough to know that it has become an impossible task to talk about immigration reform with politicians. We go out to Washington, D.C., and they'll tell us immigration reform is the third rail of politics. Really, the last time we saw something was during the Reagan administration. He says, referring to the 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act, IRCA, which gave legal status to some 2.7 million immigrants. That's a long time to not have immigration reform. Junke expressed concern that the anti-immigration rhetoric that has been sweeping the nation will make people reconsider coming to work in the United States. And to that, I say, duh. I'm worried that we're going to lose legal immigrants because they're sick and tired of it. At one point, this was probably the best place in the world to come and work and start a good family life. Now they're maybe reconsidering that. But he also believes the same voters who supported the Trump campaign know that his pledge to carry out mass deportations It's just not going to happen. There's no way it can. That is a lie. It definitely can happen. It has started to happen. All right, it says Elsa R. Aranda, the state director of the LULAC, the oldest Hispanic civil rights organization in the country, rejects that argument. Tell that to the families that got separated and still haven't found their children, Aranda said before apologizing for getting heated. Aranda says she wants to hear more talk about protecting immigrant lives beyond the economic benefits of immigration. It's dehumanizing. Let's harness immigrant labor like an animal. At the end of the day, she says, Nebraskans have no choice but to consider how immigrants are treated. Yes, we know people hate immigrants who are not here legally, deport them all, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what are you going to do when you don't have workers? So that is what she's saying. Now, Bakersfield is tackling exactly that problem. It says, inside the Bakersfield raids that showed how Trump's immigration policies will sow chaos. On January 7th, the phones of immigration advocates in Bakersfield began lighting up with calls from immigrant farm workers. The message says the U.S. Border Patrol was conducting an indiscriminate dragnet in the area, pulling over vehicles presumed to be carrying immigrants to work and taking dozens into custody. To advocates, this didn't seem right. The Border Patrol, a unit of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, had not been seen operating in anyone's memory in Bakersfield, some 300 miles from the patrol's California offices in El Centro, a few miles from the Mexican border. Although there are 2 detention centers in Bakersfield run by ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, none of the detainees could be found in either one. The Border Patrol, a sister agency of ICE, staged its raids not at an ICE installation, but out of a parking lot at a facility in the Interior Department, which has nothing to do with immigration or border security. The officers raid locations where they knew they would find farm workers gathering, such as at Home Depot, where immigrant laborers come to seek day work, and along California Route 99, the highway traveled by immigrant farm workers heading to their jobs. At some spots where they were asked to show warrants naming targeted individuals, the officers simply drove away without answering. They definitely seem to be targeting agricultural workers and day laborers, said Casey Creamer, president of California Citrus Mutual, the trade association for citrus growers. Creamer says there have been no indications that immigrants in Kern County were responsible for a wave of violent crime, the ostensible justification for the raid. The people who got targeted get up to go to work at 5 or 6 a.m. They work hard, then they go home to their families. That's incompatible with violent crime. Drug dealers aren't going out to harvest citrus. One aspect of these raids elicits broad agreement. Their effect was to sow fear. It's had a very chilling effect on the whole community, said Antonio de Laura Bruce, a spokesman for the UFW. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety for everyone with an undocumented loved one, which is a significant portion of the Latino community in Kern County. And this is the part that I wanted to get to. Creamer estimates that about 25% of immigrant workers in the area stayed home from work the first day of the raids and 75% afterwards. That continued until January 10th, when word spread that the Border Patrol had left the county and gone back to El Centro. Until then, he said, the raid sent shockwaves through the entire Central Valley, the breadbasket of California, and of the entire country. At the Mercado Latino Tianguis outside of Bakersfield, a popular shopping spot for the Latino community, customers all but disappeared during the raids, and about 1/3 of the businesses closed. This is about to have an effect on our economy. It's going to spread further than just the communities that have these day laborers and these migrant workers. It's hard to overestimate the impact that raids like these could have on California agriculture, which, like other states, is highly dependent on immigrant labor. The raids occurred as the harvesting of California oranges, mandarins, and lemons was entering a peak period for fresh fruit. California, listen to this, accounts for about 90% of the domestic supply of oranges, mandarins, lemons, and grapefruits. About 20% of the estimated 24,000 citrus farm employees in California work in Kern County, Creamer says. In this case, he adds the immediate impact was muted because the raids occurred over only 4 days, and the schedule of citrus harvesting can be somewhat flexible. But the thing is, people have got to know and understand this is one city, but this city definitely impacts all of our country. And this is just a snippet because this is about to start happening. They're going to target the places that these people work. And if these places need laborers and we need these laborers for what we use for, everyday living in our grocery stores, for our everyday lives, this is going to impact everything. And people are so short sighted, like, yeah, let's deport them all. And they're not even thinking about that these people shop and live and work in our communities. All right, y'all, join the conversation. All right, y'all, that's the end of it. Go ahead, like, comment, and share. And if you're not yet following me, go ahead and hit the follow button.